Hey there, welcome to the table. And today we're going to revisit a game I've already covered once before. It's called The Convicted, and you can see it, all the dust on the top of the box. This game gets put away and comes out about once or twice a year. I really do love this game. I don't think a lot of other people do. In fact, it's there's The Convicted. This game is one of my I think it is the very first game I ever did on my channel. And I think the reason I did it is because so many people struggled with this game, didn't understand the rules, and of course nobody was going to cover this game. And I didn't do a search, but I know at the time I started this channel, I think 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, I was the only soul who ever recorded a playthrough of this. And I might still be the only person who's ever done one. I don't know. I should have checked. I apologize. I shouldn't claim something that I haven't verified to be true. So I will at least put that disclaimer out. So I have covered this game before. So if you're somebody who was looking forward to something new, I apologize. I don't have anything new. I've been on a real big dry spell. I guess when COVID hit, I stopped buying games when everybody else started to buy games. Or the games that I did buy are completely delayed because of the cargo shortages and the cargo ship shortage and the COVID, shipping delays, China shutting down. You know all the rules or all the criteria that is around that. So, I do have a few games on Kickstarter. I do have Trench Club, which I know I didn't finish playing. Frankly, I didn't enjoy it very much. I think I would have enjoyed it more with, the solo rules were fine. It wasn't what I was expecting, but I didn't dislike it. I know I said I didn't enjoy it, but it's not that I didn't like the game. It's I'm not feeling it. I want to play something else. And as a lot of you give me advice, Jeff, it's your channel, play what you want. So that's what I'm doing. I'm playing this. This is a game I love to play. This is a game that is very difficult to, it can be rather formulaic, is the way I put it. So what is Convicted? For those of you who may not have watched the other series, first of all, I wanted to show, that's Martus Albrecht, I believe he's Polish. He's a Polish designer for this game. He kickstarted this many years ago, at least 5 years ago, maybe more. This might even be 6 or 7 year old game. It's 2021 right now. 2014 sounds about right. Maybe even 2013. And I just love this game. It is, in a nutshell, it's a tower defense type of game. It's not tower defense. It's more castle defense. What's the gist? You're a convict. You got put in jail for your crimes or whatever, and the king gave you, you could be executed or you could choose to be exiled to this island. So we're exiled to this island, and this is our castle that we start the game with. And I'll get into more about what you're seeing here in a second. And basically, we have to take control of this and defend it because there are enemies out there that don't really want us to be here. And we basically have to survive 20 rounds. It's a 20-round castle defense game. And let me see if I can get this out of the way. There we go. So you don't have to see my tripod. There we go. All right. So what kind of enemies are we talking about? Well, we have beasts. We have forestmen. We have wolfmen and barbarians. So there are 4 types. And the type we get each round is random. And the purpose of these cards is you're supposed to shuffle them and draw them, and that's how you know which one you're getting. But you can see I've scuffed these cards quite a bit, so we don't do that anymore. So I'm going to put these cards away. What I replace them with is I just use a D4. And I probably shouldn't put them completely away because we need to determine which ones are which, right? So I'm going to put these up here, and this will be 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just like that. So if I roll 1, 2, 3, 4, that's who we're going to get. Okay, so there's a lot of other components in this game that I don't use. The next set of components is there's a really thick set of cards. When you start building things for your castle, like the keep, it tells you what the requirements are and what special abilities it grants you. I don't frankly need these. I would say that if he ever redid this game, this would be one of the things he could probably cut and save himself some coin and the cost of his game. It was completely unnecessary. Now, one of the things that they do is they do say, you know, for example, when you build these libraries, and so let's talk about that real quick. I'm going to move our characters out of the way. We'll talk about those in a second. All right. So what do we got here? Well, in our castle, we have, it's basically, we can be attacked from all directions. And the directions that we get attacked from are going to have what's called a background, which is the catapult range, a foreground, which is, approaching the castle. And you'll see here that there's a spot marked S1 and S2. And we have, let me zoom the camera over to here. I have it all built up over here so I can easily grab what I need. But basically, what I'm going to do is I can start building ditches. So for example, if I want to build a ditch, I can put that here, like so, and it fits perfectly on that spot. So he has all these pieces, the designer did, that match the spots on the board as you build them. And then I could eventually build a moat, which the ditch would then get filled in and becomes a moat, like so. Okay, so with that being said, there's all kinds of stuff we can build, and that's what you're seeing when you see these various boxes on the board. So as we approach the castle, you then see there's a little S, that just means south, and then there's a north up above. And then you see a little fence here, a wooden fence. That is our castle wall right now. And yes, we can purchase additional walls. So here is a level 1 palisade, and you can see that would go there, and then now all of a sudden we're cooking with butter, right? So we got ourselves a professional style palisade. And then just to wet your whistle, the game eventually has a level 2, a brick one, then a level 3 stone, then a level 4, I don't remember what they call it, but it's an upgraded stone. Then you have a level 5, we're kicking butt type of wall. And we'll get into like how do I build and how do I upgrade from one level to the next. That'll come very soon. So as we enter the castle, we have basically a mage guild. This is where your wizards would be. This is your castle keep. So we need to defend that at all costs. And we do start the game with a level 1 keep. And then we have a cleric, church, basically. This is where your clerics would be. Now the clerics and the mages have spells. So when you build those buildings, and by the way, these buildings aren't built. It's just a spot for it. The only thing that's built is the keep. So the basic gist here is you get access to spells from the mage hall and the cleric church. And then you get more and more spells as you go up, build up the levels. And here is the library. The purpose of the library is to research how to upgrade. So at the start of the game, we can do certain things. And if you want to build like a level 2 wall, you have to research it at the library. And in order to build a level 2 wall, you need a level 2 library. You know, there's some prerequisites. It's all a big chain, you know. You got to build one thing before you can build the next, before you can build the next. But all the magic happens actually at the Mage Guild, but all the non-magic magic happens at the library. This is the workshop. It is the most important building at the end of the game. You know, when you start getting into round 20, this is what allows you to build catapults and siege equipment, and you need that to defend your castle. So basically, you could refer to it as anti-siege equipment, but there's some pretty nice, you can get some bombards and other types of artillery to assist you as you defend your castle, and that's all done here. This is an extremely expensive building to build and upgrade, and it's, one of the last things we'll probably end up, well, it's not one of the last things, but it's a priority, but it's expensive priority. Let's just put it that way. And then over here is the barracks, and that allowed you to build your troops. And at the start of the game, we can build archers and spearmen, and I will show you those in a second. And then everything else you see is just the same thing, just in orthogonally in every direction. There are spots, you can see here, there's a southwest for a tower. And this game exercises a very basic concept. So melee units, so hand-to-hand units, will attack you orthogonally. So they will only come towards the south. They will never come in diagonally through the towers. So the towers are never at risk of being destroyed from hand-to-hand units. Now, the enemy will have siege equipment that could destroy a tower or a wall. And they can destroy anything, really. And so I'm not saying that everything's perfectly defended, but where that comes in is, let me introduce you to our troops. So we have archers and we have spearmen. This is at the start of the game. The archers, of course, do range attack. The spearmen are hand-to-hand. And the whole point I'm trying to get at here is that the tower, the corners, can be manned by archers. Now, the wall can also be manned by archers. Don't just take that the wrong way. But an archer here can still shoot anywhere on the field. And they can shoot orthogonally in two directions, right? They can shoot south and west. The spearmen, however, they're useless in a tower, because no melee hand-to-hand unit's even going to go to the tower. So they need to always be on the wall. You can put one here, but it's not going to do you any good. So having them on the wall is going to help them protect from any hand-to-hand units that try to storm the wall. And so, again, like I said, you could have both. And then there's the concept of having a leader, and then there's supporting troops behind the leader. This game has some pretty cool mechanics in that regard. We'll get into that in a bit. But ideally, you want it to be, like that. You want your archers in the tower so they can shoot multiple directions, and you want your spearmen on the walls. Okay? All right. Now, the game does have these little miniatures for everything, but they also come with cubes. So these yellow cubes also represent archers. And what I like to do is I like to mix both. So, for example, if I have an archer in this tower and I have additional archers that I purchase, I'll do it like this. So there I have 3 archers in that tower. If I put 3 of these in the tower, it just takes up too much space and it gets rather cumbersome. And then I do the same thing with the spearmen. You'll see me do something like that. Okay? Now, what else can we do? Obviously, like I said, everything is technology limited, and you have to grow into things. But next up is the crossbowmen, and they are blue. Okay, and then after that is the swordsman, red. And yes, please withhold any phallic jokes. I think the designer had a very strong sense of humor when he made that one. And then there are the, what do they call those? The arbalists, I think. The arquebusier, I apologize. The arquebusier is next. So these are your highest level archer type units or range units. And then your highest infantry is the heavy infantry. That looks like that. All right. So we will not see some of these troops for quite a while because it takes a while to unlock them and to get to them. Now, when it comes to the enemies, we have miniatures for those too. So for example, I mean, look at this. I have a whole bag of these, and you can see here, like, this guy's like a spearman, right? And then we have, you know, that looks like a barbarian knight. I think this is the barbarian one. Yeah, it is, because look, you got that axeman. You see that little axeman right there? And then you have, I'm going to have bags and bags of these. So here you can see a wolfman. So like that's a werewolf, and so forth, right? So as you may have guessed, I have them still in their bags because I don't use them. And it may not seem intuitive, like why wouldn't you use your miniatures? The enemies are represented by cubes, and the cubes are more than sufficient. And I think as you see the game play out, it'll become very abundantly clear that the cubes are more than sufficient. Now, the one thing to understand with cubes is you're going to have two types of the same color. And once I pull them out, you'll see the difference. So you're going to have, you know, a basic unit, and then this is a veteran version of that basic unit. So if this was a, you know, barbarian knight, this is a veteran barbarian knight. Or this could be a beast spider. This is a veteran spider. I mean, it's just always the veteran version of the same thing. And so you have gray, brown, and black. Now, the black tends to be reserved for range units. So this would be their archer, or whatever version of archer they have, and this would be their veteran archer. The beast being the one exception, these would be, I think, dragons. I'd have to go look it up. But the dragons might be the brown. Now, the brown are the elite units. You won't see these for a while, but as they start to get out their elite units, so for example, the wolfmen, this would be the werewolves. You know, they each have their own set of, oh, I have a list, actually, right here. And so this little chart, this is black, gray, and then brown, and then black, gray, brown. So you have, for the forestmen, they have archers and archer veterans, heavy footmen veterans, assassin, and assassin veterans, right? So with the wolfmen, I was talking about, they have the thrower veteran, spearman veteran, werewolf veteran, and then the beasts are the ones that I kept butchering. The black is the wolf. And then the big black is dragon. So I was correct about that. So the lower one is the wolf, but then the big black cube is a dragon. So this is the one situation where it's not the veteran of the other. This is a giant spider veteran, giant hawk veteran. Everything else is a veteran concept except for the dragon. And then just to round it out, the barbarians have giants and then giant veterans. So those will become more clear as we go. This sheet that comes with the game, obviously you get 4 copies, 1 for each player. It's an awesome sheet. It has everything you need, all the stats for combat, everything so this is what you would call the siege side. So these are all the stats you need for managing combat. And then on the other side is whenever you're on the building phase and you're doing your player actions, this is everything you need to build your stuff. So it's a fantastic, like when it comes to a player aid, there's no player aid that's better than this one. This player aid just literally has everything you could ever ask for. All right, so I'm going to try to speed this up a little bit because I think we need to just jump in and play. But just wanted to point out there's a lot of components to this game that I'm not going to get out until the time is right. But one last thing, if you were to purchase this game, the miniatures that I just showed you are an Kickstarter exclusive thing. And you had to like pay extra for it. So it was a Kickstarter upgrade on top of it. I know this game is no longer in print, and those miniatures are even more rare. Like, I have probably a game that's, like, if people really like this game and this game ever got popular, I'm sitting on a gold mine because I'm one of the few people who has all the components to the game, including the miniatures. I don't think it's ever going to be a gold mine because I don't think people really adore this game that much. So I probably don't ever have anybody who wants to buy it. But it is one of my favorites. And out of all the Kickstarters I've done, I play this game a ton. I just thoroughly enjoy this game, and I don't know what other people are missing. I do understand there's one criticism that this game can, it can feel formulaic, and that part I agree with. But I don't mind it, and that's why I get it out once every 6 months. Okay, so this is something you're going to see in the game. So let me get out. There's 4 things. All right, so you're going to see this concept in the game. So this, let me put them in the correct order. This should be the right order, okay? And then you're also going to notice that when you're looking at the sheet that I was just referencing, that's awesome. So for example, you're going to see those symbols, so you're going to see the little slashes, and then that's the square, and then that's the little T-looking symbol, and that's the little 3 dots. So the slashes, square, T, 3 dots. Okay, so you're going to see that throughout the thing. So you'll see here that all 4 of those symbols are there. Well, what that represents, and it should become very apparent as soon as I do this, wood, brick, or stone, iron, and gold. And then I have the Jeremy Stagmeyer resource kit. So one thing I sometimes like to do is I'll maybe substitute that instead. So this is more brick-like, right? So wood, brick, iron, gold. So I don't use these components. I actually have my own things, and this is the Jeremy Stagmeyer kit. And so we don't have to use what's in the game. However, it was very important to point this out to you because everything you read in the game is going to have that symbology. So that symbology is important. It's not going to say wood. It's going to show, 3 dashed lines. It's not going to say brick. It's just going to be a square. It's not going to say iron. That's going to be a T. And then the gold is the 3 dots. Okay? I know that was very simple and probably didn't need as much hand-holding as I just explained, but it will help you to enjoy this playthrough a bit more to know that that exists. Okay, so I got this little thing. It's off to my side. I'm not necessarily going to show you what's in it all the time, but just give you a quick peek. These are all the enemy equipment that's used against us. And then in here are little tokens that we use, and these are our spells. So when we research a spell, I'll pull these out and show you what spell we have. And then there's these are enemy cover, so they can take cover from our arrows. And then these 5s, these numbers, I'll show you in a second. And then we have a bunch of junk over here that I just never use. So that's going to be off to the side here, out of our view. And I have all of the trays with the cubes that I was just showing you. I have my resources ready. I have some heroes selected, and then I have some other heroes to talk about. When we start the game with 12 actions. Those actions are represented with these. If you play a 1-player game, you pick 1 character and you get all 12 actions. If you play a 2-player game, then each character gets 6 actions, and you have 2 characters, etc., etc. I know in my first recording of this game, I went into a lot of detail about the advantages and disadvantages of a 4-player game versus a 1-player game. And it's a very interesting concept. And I'll review that again real quick in a second. The other thing I want to get into is that on the 10th, 15th, and 20th round, we get attacked by a boss. So there is a boss that comes with the I mean, it looks like an angel, but it's like a guy with a big sword and a shield. And then I think that's the forestman. He has a shaman. I think that's the barbarian. Or this one might actually be the barbarian. And one of them's the wolfman. I don't remember which one. But it doesn't matter. We'll sort it out and figure it out then. But so if we get one of those, then a boss comes with them. And that boss has like superpowers. You don't actually kill the boss. But they just do things that enhance the entire army that's with them. And so we have these little tokens. And like I said, they only come out on the 10th, 15th, and 20th round. So it's going to be a while until you see them again. But they're just going to put them up there on the board. And it does have, like the designer did a wonderful job to show you the library, workshop, barracks, chapel, keep, mage tower, right? The other thing is we start with boulders. So every fence wall has boulders that we can like drop on the enemy. So like I said, orthogonally, they're all the same. So we have those in place. And like I also said, we start with the level 1 keep, which really doesn't do anything at level 1, except, you lose the keep, you lose the game. But let me just say that if you let them in to lose anything inside, you're going to lose the game. This is a game where you have to keep up or you're never going to catch back up. The enemy just gets compoundingly, exponentially harder as you go. And then, like I said, we start with a level 1 barracks. All right, so the debate between true solo versus solo playing 4 sides. It's a good debate. So if you're playing true solo, you would pick one character, and that character would get all 12 actions. Every character has a special ability that sort of lets you cheat the game. And obviously, if you play solo, you only get one special ability. So obviously the thing that you're being handicapped in is you, instead of having 4 special abilities, you only have 1. So, but the game compensates you that at the end of every round, you get additional resources. And the resources would be wood only. Wood is still good. All the way to the end of the game, wood's pretty decent. And you get additional wood, no matter what the enemy was and what their plunder was. At the end of every round, you just get a bonus number of resources. And that's meant to compensate for the fact that you don't have any of those other special abilities. There's one other bonus that is really hard to explain until you start playing. But the designer made these rules where you're in control of one wall. So if you're playing a 4-player game, I might be in control of the south wall, and then maybe this tower, right? So these are my 2 things that are assigned to me. And then every other player gets 2 things assigned to them. And the whole concept there is well, if I'm in control of the south wall, then I'm only able to build my own section. So I can't build the north wall, even if the north wall needs to be built like as an emergency. So whoever's controlling the north wall has to do that wall. And that is a huge setback. When you're playing by yourself, you got all 12 actions and you have control of all the walls. You get to do everything in the meticulous order that you want. And I can't tell you enough how much of an advantage that is. To be able to just build things in any order you want, and it could be the difference between winning and losing. So, why am I not doing that? Well, because I do like a better challenge. And the other part of it is I like the special abilities. So having 4 special abilities is not chump change. So it does make up for some of this inefficiency of everybody being in charge of their own wall. Okay, so I hope I explained that well enough, and feel free to ask questions if you didn't understand. But I picked 4, and these are the same 4 I always pick. Out of the 4, I'll introduce you to them real quick. It's the deserter, the smuggler, the counterfeiter. That's they call it, the counterfeiter. That's that way his English was, and then the pickpocket. Out of the 4, the pickpocket is probably the weakest, but the pickpocket is still super powerful. So let me, if you were playing by yourself and you want to do true solo, the deserter is one of my top recommendations. The other one would be the, I just have to make sure I'm looking at the right one because I always get the smuggler and the counterfeiter confused. The counterfeiter would be the other one. And in fact, I would sometimes maybe argue that the counterfeiter is better, but the only reason that the deserter beats the counterfeiter is the deserter gets a free action. And so he always gets one extra action every round, and nobody else does. So you could argue that the smuggler gets a free action every round. We'll talk about that in a second. And I won't go over their special abilities yet, because these are the ones I picked. We'll go over those last. Who don't I pick? Well, there is a diviner in the game, and what he has is, and I know this is hard for you to read. It's hard for me even to read. Basically, after the enemy arrives and we see where they're attacking from, because we don't know, are they coming from the north, south? They usually come from all four directions, but there's like the army will have a primary attack side. So maybe, 12 armies are coming from the east, but only 4, 4, and 4 are coming from the other side. So this is their primary punch, right? And so once you know that they're all coming from the east, the diviner lets you move your troops around on the walls. Otherwise, you don't get to do that. You have to wait until a certain phase of the game to be able to move them. And so it's decent, but I just don't find it all that helpful. The sorcerer lets you cast an additional... So when you build a mage tower, you get to cast each of the spells the mage tower has once. So if a mage tower has a level 1 spell, you get to cast it once. This lets you cast any of the level 1 to 3 spells a second time. But you have to have those spells researched first. It doesn't just happen. So that's one of the things about the sorcerer that it's not as good. I mean, the ability to cast a spell a second time is really good, but in the beginning of the game, he doesn't even do anything for you. You could argue that later in the game, he's more helpful, and really, to be honest, he's not a bad choice. So if you really wanted to go with him, I think it would work. I just don't think he's as powerful as the other ones. All right, sorry, I had to pause for a bit there. So the murderer basically lets you pick one group. And I haven't explained what a group is yet, but basically it's like your spearmen on the walls. So you get to pick one group of people on the walls, and they do double damage. This is actually insanely good if you're defending a wall, but it's very situational. The pirate, he can repeat a dice throw of his choice. Now, does it mean that you get to count both? I think what it means is you get to re-roll a die. So out of all of them, he's the weakest. Absolutely the weakest. That's trash. The arsonist, during each round, can select any of the invaders' ballista, catapult, or trebuchet, basically their siege equipment, and remove it from the board. So as soon as they arrive, basically, it basically falls apart. The arsonist, puts one on fire somehow. He can destroy, can select any of the invaders' ballista, catapult, trebuchet, and remove its marker off the board just after deployment. Now, this one sounds awesome, and it sort of is, except he only destroys one. And I kid you not, I mean, you're going to have, at the end of the game, you're going to have like 12 ballista coming at you. So knocking out one of the 12, so now there's 11 left, it's not that exciting. And then this ability is actually one of the mage abilities. They have like a fireball that does the exact same thing. So basically this is like a mage level whatever spell. And it's okay. I mean, I'm not saying it's awful, but I just don't think it's that good. It's in the middle. And then the priest. At the beginning of the setup stage, he can designate a particular wall and give it a +1 to its protection against ranged fire. That is actually quite good, but not good enough. So anyways, I never play with these guys because, to me, these other four are just superior in every way. And so let me introduce them to you one by one here. Let's start with my favorite one, the deserter. And he is my favorite because every round he gets to recruit an additional unit from the barracks for free. Well, for a free action. I think you still have to pay. Let me hold on a second. Due to his high leadership, each round can train an additional unit of any type on the current level of the barracks. So it's barracks, not siege equipment. This special training does not require using any actions or resources, so it's 100% free. So he basically just gets to create a unit for free. And units are how you defend your castle. So very, very powerful. He only gets 3 actions in the game, and it's basically like he always has a 4th action. So that's what I like about him. He always can produce a troop and then, still get his 3 actions. So my second favorite is the Counterfritter. And the Counterfritter, what he does is he can take any 3 resources and change them into something else. He's like a transmutation kind of thing. And so basically, if you have 3 wood, you can turn it into 3 gold. And that is insane because gold is super rare in this game, and even the iron is actually hard to get. So you can take all that wood that you're getting and turn it into something more valuable. Now, remember how I told you when you play by yourself and you pick only one character, and then you get bonus wood every round. Even at the end of the game, I told you wood's still helpful. Well, wood that you can turn into gold for free is super duper helpful. And if you're getting bonus wood every round, because of the Counterfritter ability, that turns that bonus wood into the best resources in the game. Now, at the beginning of the game, we only have access to wood. You have to research it through the library, how to get access to the other types of resources. But that's the point. The Counterfritter can convert into those other resources, and it doesn't matter what the resource is, it's wood to something else. And technically, the way it's written is it's any 3 resources into any 3 other resources. So if you all of a sudden had a bunch of brick and you needed to get gold real quick, you could do that too. And if for some bizarre reason you needed to convert gold into wood, he could do that too, although I highly would question what you're doing in the game. Okay, next is the Smuggler. The way the game, one of the actions you have in the game is you can get resources. And basically the library gives you technologies, and one of them, of course, is going to let you gather resources. I grabbed the wrong thing to show you right here. At the beginning of the game, you can gather 2 wood, or these are ores. This isn't all. You're gonna, for 1 action point, you can get 2 wood, or 1 brick, or 1 iron, or 1 gold. Now, obviously, we've not researched these 3, so the only thing you can get is 2 wood at the start of the game. Now, if I want to spend another action, I can do it again. So if I spend all 3 of my actions, I could do this all 3 times. And I don't have to pick the same resource. I could do 2 wood, and then 1 iron, assuming I have the technology to get iron. So, and then this is like upgraded technology, so you're getting better at gathering resources. So what does the Smuggler do? The Smuggler lets you get double of whatever you pick. So instead of getting 2 wood, he could get 4 for 1 action. And so that's the part I was saying, you could argue that's a free action too. But one of his action points has to be spent to gather resources. He then gets double, which is the same as spending 2 actions to gather resources twice. So you could argue that he's given you a bonus action as well, and that's why he's one of the 4. That's a very powerful ability. Now, if you'll notice, every one of my guys that I'm picking are giving me economic benefits. Because to me, the key to this game is not winning. I mean, obviously you need to win the battles, but the way you win the battles is you need to have the economics to put out the upgrades and the people you need to win the battles. So that's my logic with all this. And then the last one is the Pickpocket. And I'm not going to grab the Pickpocket one just because I'm being lazy. But basically, these are the costs to build the various buildings. And the Pickpocket can just pay 1 less resource of any type, including gold. So if I want to do a level 4 library that costs 5 wood, 3 brick, 3 iron, and 1 gold, I can just pay these 3 resources and not pay the gold. And that's what the Pickpocket can do. So the pickpocket is the perfect character for building these buildings, especially these expensive ones like the workshop, etc. Can always do it for one resource less. And it's just one resource, but that one resource might make the world of difference. All right, the other thing with the game is it's very constrictive about player order. So the player order has to be done in a very specific way, and one of the house rules I highly recommend, especially if you're learning this game, is don't be afraid to just, when it's the player's turns to do actions, just pick somebody to go. And what I do recommend, though, is that you keep it where, okay, when you decide, okay, you're going to go, you have to at least spend all 3 of your actions. Like, I guess you could get crazy and have everybody just spend actions whenever they want. But that's, you're cheating a lot, because remember, the only advantage of being solitaire with one character is that you get to do your actions in any order. So, so this little marker is just to represent turn order. And so, for example, the pickpocket will go first in this game. And that's not necessarily ideal because, usually you like to... Because the other thing is that every character can give another character as many resources as they want of one type every round. So if the deserter has 12 wood, or the smuggler, for example, likes to get double resources, right? So he's going to get 4 wood just for one action. He could give all 4 of that wood to the pickpocket. Now, the problem is the pickpocket's going first. So he doesn't get to give his wood to the pickpocket. Now, one other thing, though, I can give resources to the pickpocket during the pickpocket's turn. It's just that that's my only time I can give a resource. So, like, once I give a resource, that's it for the round. So everybody else, it's not like... So on the pickpocket's turn, if I want to give the pickpocket all my wood, I can. But then when it's the counterfeiter's turn, I can't also give him wood from the same character. That character is done. And if I don't have any particular tokens to represent that they've used their 1 per turn trade, but that's something I would recommend that maybe you consider doing, because that is something you do have to keep track of. Okay, so we got our little D4 that's used to select the monsters. We have this for resolving combat. So let's talk about the phases of the game. Actually, let's just finish the setup, and then we can talk about the phases of the game when we start the actual gameplay in the next video. So I want to check one thing real quick, but I'm pretty sure that we all start with 8 wood and 8 spearmen. And I'm just going to double check. Eight pieces of wood and 8 spearmen. And then if you're playing by yourself, at the end of every round, you get 5 additional pieces of wood. Just addition, no matter what, if you're just playing one character. If you're playing 2 characters, you're going to get 2 pieces of additional wood each. And then if you're playing with 3 characters, you get 1 piece of additional wood each. So there's additional wood given out in every situation except for 4 players. Okay, so we got 2, 2. Yeah, the wood likes to roll away. 2 and 2. Now, one other thing is like the action tokens are meant to be put on those little dots you see along the top. There's 12 of them for 12 actions. And then there's an additional 6 because on the 10th, 15th, and 20th round, you get some bonus actions, which are these. And I'm just going to put those off to the side. You're supposed to, like, as you spend them, put them on the board, but it's all the way on the other end, and I don't like reaching, so we're just going to do some kind of like on the mat, off the mat kind of format. So that's what I'm going to do for those. And, oh, forgot the... So I should have just enough miniatures. So I have 1 for each wall. And I think the designer did it this way because he only gave me 1. It's not like I have extra of them just sitting off to the side. He only gave me 4 with the game. And the way I represent it is we basically going to evenly distribute it. So every wall has 1 spearman miniature and then 1 cube to go with it. So we got 2 spearmen on each wall. There are boulders on each wall, and they can throw the boulders over the wall to smash any enemy that's trying to climb. And then everybody has 2 wood. And there you go. We're off, and we're ready to start round 1 of the game. So thanks for joining me at the table, and as always, stay awesome.